Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to go over creating a film look. So let's jump in. I got a few clips here, and I wanted to explore the film look creator, which can be found over in your effects node. So I just brought in a couple of clips here. Some are just log, and I'm going to drop this onto here. And what it does is kind of give you some grain and some other effects. You can change the exposure, some split toning, some vignetting. All these things definitely help. So let's explore this a little bit. I'll go ahead and change this preset to clean slate. So that means nothing's going on here. And let's just explore what we got. We have the film look blend. So you could slide that up and you could see this changes some of the higher peaks in the blues, washes it out a little bit. And there's different looks here, so you can choose between those. We'll stick with the first one. Now you can change things about your color settings. So think of this as just a shortcut to what you would do with your tools down here. Highlights, fades, contrast, just quick sliders. But where this thing really starts to shine is the split tone, the vignetting, and a couple of the other things. So let's check out split tone real quick. If we enable that, and we have an amount slider, this really starts to change sort of the look of the world that you're in. And this is a technique used by a lot of colorists, and you've seen it in a lot of movies. So let's change the hue angle here. So we can go from like a really sort of overcast, warm look to all the way to the other end of the spectrum, sort of a sci-fi space sort of look, desolate, all that with just this hue. So that's split toning. Then we have vignette, of course, which this one I'm not really super impressed with. It doesn't give you the flexibility that a real vignette does, but it's supposed to give you that oval look along the sides. In fact, let's just grab one and I'll show you what I mean, because this really goes a long way to giving you a filmic look. So if we put on this regular vignette, we can actually see we got control over the size. So let's say we were going to kill the softness and really make it a harder vignette. Now we can go right in here, right about where we want it. And you can change the anamorphism here. So let's shrink it down. Kind of gives it more of that elongated view to work with the 16:9 content. Then you can come out here and then give it some softness. And what that's going to do is sort of draw your eye into the center of the screen. This is used quite often. Probably not to this degree, maybe a little more soft. It's certainly more flexible than the built-in one. So let's go back to the film look creator. Another thing we have is halation. Now this is going to work more with like brights and highlights, headlights, lighting, stuff like that. So I'll probably do that one on another clip here. We have bloom, which depending on how we have this set, it's going to really change the look. So we'll dial that in a minute. Grain here, and it might be a little hard to see, but you could see if we look at our scope here, look at how just turning this grain on and off, what it does to our image. And then if we go up here and go full screen, it might be a little hard to see, but look at the density where the clouds are. And it just gives it more, definitely a filmic look. So that goes a long way. Grain and then the vignette certainly will help quite a bit. We have some other stuff here like flicker, gate weave, if you want to make it look aged. But let's work more on a film look just with where we're at. So we don't really have anything enabled too much here other than a couple of adjustments. The grain's not enabled, and then I have film look going, but nothing too crazy. Split toning's off, vignetting is off, halation, everything's off basically. So let's make this world look a little bit better. I'm going to turn on my panel, and on this first node, I will bring this down a little bit. We'll get it a little darker, some more contrast. In fact, I'll use the contrast. Shadows are getting a little darker. I'm going to bring the highlights down. Bring up my mid detail and a little more saturation for me, and probably bring my shadows up just a notch. So here's this before, after, not too crazy. We could probably do some stuff with the sky as well. But now let's start dialing in the film look. Let's go ahead and add that grain back in. And I can really see, especially if we go full screen, there's a lot of texture in here. Look at the mountains here and these mountains in the foreground. Pretty huge difference with the texture. Now let's go ahead and work on the split toning and see what that does. I'll go ahead and reset everything. Now this really can kind of give you a nice complementary tone. So let's, here's more of a warm look. And then as we go further around, we get more of that sort of washed out apocalyptic look. In fact, we have a bleach bypass mode under the color settings. So I went ahead and disabled split tone. Let's move the bleach bypass up, and you're going to get more of that washed out sort of dystopian look. So there's that difference. It's got the grain, but now it's sort of got that lack of life look. So that's a pretty cool technique, especially depending on the style of the movie. It can really make all the difference. So that one's pretty cool as well. Okay, so that kind of gives a little bit of a shot look. And then let's go vignette. We could probably bring this down a little more. So if we bypass all of our color, quite a bit of a difference now. Let's go ahead and try a couple other shots. Now this one, it's got a little bit of matte going on. Now, if we were to do that with the other clip here, I'll show you what I mean. So there's a couple ways you can do this, but you can come down to output blanking here, and let's go 235. Now that gives it those wide mattes at the top and bottom. And then if we have the vignette set up on here, might need to be a little bit bigger. So that's going to give it more of a film look, something. It's a still shot, but with the vignette and the mattes, that also gives you quite a bit more of a filmic look. Now let's see what we can do with some of these outdoor shots. I'll go ahead and put our blanking back to full screen. So this is a log shot. So on this first node, let's just kind of get things looking a little bit better. I don't know anything about this camera or anything like that. I just know it doesn't look very saturated. And was log, I don't know the conversion that it needs per se. Now it looks all right if we want it to look more film-like. I'm going to bring the gamma down quite a bit. And this one, maybe we could use some kind of like lens flare. Let's do our usual tricks. Let's go with the film look and just keep that going and see what that looks like. Now there's a film grain by itself, so let's jump that in. And here you can look at the grain size with the grain only, and we can increase the texture and the size if we want to look a little older. So now let's toggle that on and off. And this has the opacity. So see, as we bring the opacity up, you can see the texture on the street quite a bit. And then you can bring that down. Now that makes it look a little older, a little more film-like. And once again, if we do the output blinking, maybe a 235, that vignette would probably come into play again. So you could always add these on separate nodes if you wanted to make your own look. Pull the size out. So that kind of gives it more of a vintage look with the grain and the vignette. And then you could even, on the first node here, like desaturate it a bit more. Kind of give it more of a 70s sort of look like that. And then we have a similar shot here. This one I think was like a corresponding shot. So let's see what we can do here. This one looks like it'd be pretty bright. So let's go for more of a upper mids, like higher gamma look. And then maybe give it some more saturation. And let's try that film look again. So I'm going to apply this on the second node here. And let's just look at what the presets do. So here's the default 65 millimeter. Let's do a cinematic. As you can see, that added its own matte. If we take the matte off here and put our blanking back to 178, you can see the cinematic version adds that matte just like I was talking about a minute ago. I don't know where that is here. That's just part of the preset, I guess. Now they do have the bleach bypass look, which is a full frame, sort of desaturated. We have nostalgic, and this enables some of the film gate weaving just to give it that kind of look. Then we have custom if you wanted to make your own. Let's just go to clean slate and we'll start making this look a little more vintage. Let's try the halation on this one. So this is going to be looking at highlights. So right around the top of the fountain here, maybe some of these spots in the tree with these sections. Let's exaggerate it quite a bit. There, you could really see it kind of diffuses the light a little bit, and that kind of adds to that older sort of 70s look where the camera isn't quite right. And then we also have bloom here, so let's enable bloom, and we'll crank it up, over exaggerate it, and we'll crank the radius just to show you what it's doing. This one's a little bit more subtle. Maybe if we take the halation off and just go back and forth with the bloom, you can see what it's doing. There's some like mid-tone, sort of like the light's hitting it and reflecting off. I don't know if you could see that. It kind of washes it out a little bit. So that's bloom. I'll enable halation again. Once again, we have grain options. And then let's see what the split tone does on this one, just to see. So that one's kind of giving us more complementary colors, a little bit more reddish. So all these things combined can give you that nice film look. And then, as I said, if we give it like more of a vintage matte, that definitely looks older. And then if we had some film damage, now that's sort of what the flicker and the gate weave do. So let's put those on. And this will show you like sort of what that does on this shot. And the gate weave was on. We could probably exaggerate that a little bit more. Here's the gate. The gate makes it look like it's running through film. And then if we took the blanking back to full frame, so you get the rounded corners here. Sort of looks like you're just looking at film. There's padding. And then you could change the type of film you're looking at on the gate. The weave, you can get crazier with it and kind of give it that sort of damaged. Just depends on how exaggerated you want the effects. So those are more like stylistic, where you're going for like a vintage look. But as far as all the other tools you have with your split toning, your vignette, halation, all that stuff, you can really make a look. Here you could see the blooming on this section. Now that the daylight's a little more revealed coming through the tree, now the bloom is really exaggerated because we cranked it. So you could see what that's doing. And along with this halation, see how that really cranks those highlights up. So all these things combined give you a nice film look. And then you could do the same thing with your blanking and your film grain, and then just desaturate a little bit. A few different options. So that's Film Look Creator. Pretty cool tool. They got nice presets in there, and then they have a good amount of options for you inside there. But that's how you can kind of give things more of a cinematic look. If you got those bigger mats, is more accustomed to like a theatrical look instead of a nomading, which is sort of like YouTube or television type stuff. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.